Good afternoon, YouTube. So heading up the canyon trail here. I plan on getting up on top of the ridge up here, take the ridge road up, and then if all goes well, I'll be going down the ridge there and ending up back down at the creek. And this hike, we're going to pass 4 wrecked cars. Here's number 1. So as I recall, this is, I think, a 51 Ford. I think it's called a shoebox Ford. So that's wrecked car number 1. And then there's also 4 grassy meadows. And yeah, I got to get going. So I'm heading up that way. We're going to go down across the creek and then come back this way up the ridge road, which kind of goes up that ridge there and comes out on top of the landslide here. There's the big slide right up there. And we'll be up there probably an hour and a half or so. Okay, making my way up the ridge road. This is the first switchback here. I always like to stop at this spot. It's just so nice. About a 130-year-old road here. Although it was probably in use probably into the 60s or early 70s. Okay, making my way up the road in the side canyon here. I think there's a lot more down trees this year. Yeah, we had a couple of pretty high wind storms this past winter. And yeah, it's just busting through stuff like this. You just kind of have to put your head down and just go straight through it. Luckily, I have my cycling glasses on, so it keeps the branches out of your eyes. Here's that big fence post. Yeah, so this must have been like for a gate. I don't see anything on this side of the road. Yeah, there were like pinch bolts there. I don't know what that was. And then that was probably something for a chain. You could probably put a chain through there and then have it lock in place. 1/4 inch, 5/16 wall tubing. Yeah, pretty good size there. But yeah, got up to the first post. There's another one someplace up here. Yeah, it just came up maybe 100 feet from that first fence post, and this is where the second one is. Looks like the same diameter post there, same wall thickness. And this one has a big cable, or actually 2 big cables, and they run off that direction. Again, there's no post or anything over there. It's just looped around here. There was some sort of gate up here. 1 1/4 miles in, so I'm a 1/4 mile up the ridge road from the first switchback. And yeah, getting pretty close to where I cut up and go up that way. I roughly followed my track, but there was one part of the track, I think, where I was exploring kind of down out there. And so I kind of cut straight across that big loop that I made looking for a passage here. And I came right out here. I think last year I came right through there. You can stand up going through this tunnel. That one you have to crawl. So, but yeah, I got to the little grassy meadow, and then, let's see, as I recall, you have to go down this pretty steep hill. This whole meadow is on about a 30-degree slope. It's pretty steep. And then there's a little narrow passageway, and then you get to a little bit bigger meadow, and then you cut across a little farther, and then you're in the really big meadow. Let's say it might not be quite as long as I thought. This is 1.5 miles for my bike, and then I imagine it'll be, I don't know, 1/4, 1/2 mile down to the bottom corner of this big meadow, and then it's about 1.6 miles back on my exit track here. Yeah, it'll probably be about 3 1/4, 3.5 miles. Came through the couple little small meadows, and then this is the big meadow. These must be erosion gullies here. This is the rock that makes up the landslide, and it's just this crumbly red stuff here. You can just see it's just, you can just break it apart with your with your fingers. It's so rotten. Yeah, it's just crumbly. Look at that. I mean, that's rock, and you can just break it apart with your fingers. This is what makes the landslide. This is about 1,700 foot elevation right here, and I think the top of the slide is 1,600 feet, so we've got about 100 feet down there. So 1 week ago I was probably right down in here, right around those trees. Last year I went up to that big tree up there. There's kind of a bench up on top there. It levels out. So I just kind of zigzag down this steep slope here. This is the old road that shows up on the hillshade map. That way heads towards the landslide, and I think there might be a building site out there. There's some roads and looks like some earth has been moved, but this is really overgrown. Anyway, this is the road out of here. It's overgrown, but not quite as bad as that way. Okay, came around the corner, making my way up this side canyon here. And this is wrecked car number 2 on this hike. Probably came down here and then slid off the side of the road. Probably back in the late 60s, early 70s. And they basically left her here. So yeah, we're going to keep going up here. The road kind of follows the creek channel all the way up there. There's probably another couple hundred yards and then the road makes a turn. Okay, yeah, came up from the wrecked car number 2 up this old road here, and this is where it cuts back, crosses the stream here, and this is wrecked car number 3 on this trip. So yeah, this is a 1956 Chevy 210 two-door station wagon, according to the little plaque on the on the firewall there. So anyway, the road continues that way. We've got another quarter mile up to the next meadow. So we'll be coming up to meadow number 2. Yeah, so I think this is where the old road used to run. You can see kind of a clearing through the trees there, and it kind of angles around up to where that wrecked car number 3 was. And then here in the meadow, this is meadow number 2 of this hike. Yeah, this one is kind of on the ridge. It's mainly on the kind of on the south side of the ridge. There's a little bit of meadow over the top. 3 weeks ago there was pretty good wildflower bloom up here. You can just see the kind of the tail end of the blooms. Yeah, you get a pretty nice view up here, south side of Stevens Creek Canyon. There's a couple of, I don't know if you can see a couple of houses up there on the ridge. But yeah, we got to head over to that end of the meadow, and then there's a couple hundred yards of chaparral to go through, and then we get to meadow number 3. So I'll fire up the camera when we get down there. Okay, yeah, this is meadow number 3, so the trail comes in kind of around there. This is sort of a long skinny meadow. You kind of go through these trees here and come down here. So I think this is where 2 roads used to meet. There's this road, the trail follows down here, and I think the original road went through here and down along the edge of the canyon. You can see how overgrown it is with brush. It's that way the whole distance, and then the road's been washed out several places, and it's impassable. There was a road up here at the end of the meadow that went off that way and up the other side, and then the road that the trail follows goes off more to the left. But yeah, the road is here, but it's really impassable. So what I do is cut through the trees here for a couple hundred feet to get around the worst of the brush. Okay, yeah, the trail kind of comes down from over there. This is meadow number 4 on the way down. Most of the grass is on the other side. There's a big grove of trees here in the middle, and there's kind of grass around the outside. So there's just a little bit here. Most of the grass is over on that side of the slope, but you don't want to go down there because it goes down really steep, and it kind of leaves you stranded down on the downhill side of the canyon. So the trail here just sort of swings out this way. You follow the ridge pretty much from there all the way down to here through the chaparral, and then you hit this old road here. You can also go across the top, and the road continues over there, and it runs into another old road. That one is a lot less steep. There's probably 3 or 4 switchbacks to get down to the creek. This road here is pretty much just straight down. So this is the express elevator down, but my bike is parked kind of right down at the bottom of the hill there, so I'm going down. Okay, yeah, I took the old road all the way down and then picked up this trail, which I think also follows an old road. And if you go that way, you come by wrecked car number 4 here. This is the 54 Plymouth Plaza 2-door sedan. But yeah, we got about a third of a mile. You go up this way and then drop down. Okay, made it back to the bike. It was 3.5 miles and 3.5 hours. You start and end in the really dense, like the oak and bay laurel and a lot of the brush. There's a lot of bugs down here, mosquitoes and flies and whatnot, but that is the nice thing when you're up in the chaparral. There's no bugs and there's no poison oak. Down here closer to the creek, there's a lot of poison oak. So yeah, I got to get all my stuff packed up, the gaiters and my fanny pack go back in the day pack, and then that goes on my back to ride home. I had that much water left from my loop. I'm probably going to chug the rest of that before I get on the bike. Let's see, I got to get out my headlight, turn on the brake light, as I'll be riding home in the dark. It's about 7 o'clock and the sun sets a little after 8. So that was 6 years ago that I first went up the ridge road a little ways. I was really uncomfortable going up that first time. You know, I was in bike shorts and short sleeve jersey, and I was like, what am I getting into here? And I turned around after a little bit, and then each year I went up a little bit farther, got up, and last year I finally got up to that big grassy meadow up there. And then this year I've been going up here, this part of the ridge, and hiking back towards that grassy meadow, and that took 6 months. I started in December, and it took about a month of exploring to figure out where all the roads and trails hooked up, and then I finally got up to the top of the ridge. Working my way up the ridge, each week I'd get a couple hundred feet farther and then come back, and then the next week I'd go a little bit farther. So yeah, this has been a long one. I was a little apprehensive today. This was like the longest hike, 3.5 mile loop that I've done up here. Granted, a mile of it was up the canyon trail up here. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that. My camera battery's about to run out, so I better wrap it up here. So as always, thanks for watching.